Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We're gonna be doing a little bit more of like sit down videos. Today's video is gonna be like books that I've been able to read with anxiety. I'm the type of person that when I get like really bad anxiety, like I cannot read. Hold up, the yellowish lighting is throwing me off. There we go. So I'm the type of person that just like I can't read because I can't focus. My mind just needs something like mindless, like TikTok, like scrolling, watching a movie. Even then, watching a movie is hard for me because my mind is like, no, the movie's not important. Let's just focus on this. So it's very rare for me to be able to read a book while I'm going through like such bad anxiety. But I do have a list of books. I'll include the pictures here that I have been able to read while I've been anxious, and it's been fine. It hasn't ruined the book for me, and I've been like perfect, if that makes sense. Okay, so the first one is two that are in the same series, and that is Done and Dusted and Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage. Like I said, I'm gonna include them here. So I love these books because, like I said, they do distract me while I'm going through like a really bad spot in my mental health, but also they talk about mental health themselves. So I'm a very big advocate for these books. I've been telling my friends, you gotta read them because they're so good, and we're all mentally ill, so you know. So in Done and Dusted, the main character, she has like panic attacks and anxiety, so I related to that one. But then in book two, Wes, the main character, which is her brother, has depression, which I don't have depression, but the way he described depression, I feel like connects so well with the way I describe my anxiety that I was just like, oh my god. And it's so nice to see it talking like as a man with mental health, you know, because I mean, what did I just say? You know, because like it's always like women that are struggling and men are always like, obviously they struggle too, but it's not shown as much. So I thought it was very nice and very beautiful that she did that. I do have the third book, which is Lost and Lassoed, which I can't wait to read, and I wonder like who's gonna have the mental health disorder, what's it gonna be like. I'm excited for that because I feel like it's just so nice, you know what I mean. I think it's needed, and like every book should have a little piece of it because it's so important, you know what I mean. Mental health is like so important, so I think it should be talked about more so it's not as like stigmatized and stuff. So I love those two. And then we have three books from the same author. They're all her YA books, and it's by Lynn Painter. So the first one is Better Than the Movies. I was in a really bad space mentally when I read Better Than the Movies, and I still really loved it and enjoyed it, and was able to finish basically almost the whole book in one day. I was in page 50 when I started that day, and I ended up finishing it that day because it was just so good and really kept me in the world. And I think it helped that like she includes lots of like stuff like that's very relevant, like Taylor Swift songs or like just little things like that. Her books are very much like Taylor Swift coded, I guess, in the sense of like there's a lot of Taylor Swift stuff in it. So you see me highlighting just like Taylor Swift stuff the whole time. So it's very nice in that way because it's kind of like a form of escapism, you know what I mean. It's not just that like I'm relating with the book, but like you see all these things and they're so nice. And in the first book, actually in all of the books except for Betting on You, there's like a mention of loss. Someone passed away, so they do talk about that too. And then The Do-Over, it was like a book that I thought I wasn't gonna enjoy just because it's like Groundhog Day, and I don't like when things get like overly repeated like again and again and again. Like that's not my thing. But like they did it so well, and it was such a good book that, like I said, I finished it in like 2 days because I was like so into it. And the last one is Betting on You. This is my least favorite out of all of them, but like all of her books are so quick and easy to read that you just read them, like, you know. So like I said, all of them are very much like easy to read. They're like very fast paced, quick books. They do have like some more like deeper subjects in there, but other than that, they're just pretty quick and easy to go through. So I totally recommend those. Also, to get you out of a reading slump, I feel like those are very good because they're just like very quick and easy. We have another trilogy that I read years ago, like when I was like in high school slash graduating high school, so years ago. And that is the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy. So it's the Summer I Turned Pretty. Let me get the names right. It's Not Summer Without You and We'll Always Have Summer. I loved those books. I think when I first started it, I wasn't very like anxious. But as I moved on to book 2 and book 3, I went through like a very anxious place in my life that like I would not eat or anything, and I lost so much weight. I was 103 pounds. So it was a lot. It was a lot at once. But those books just like really helped me through it, and I was just so happy while reading them that like it really helped get me out of my head and like into something else that wasn't just about me kind of thing. So I love those books, and like yeah, they're very fun summery books, like oh no, like just spending out time outside by the beach with 2 hot guys, like who wouldn't want that? But it does talk about loss once again. A lot of romance books I feel like talk about loss, like in Dun and Dustin and Swift and Saddle there's also loss. There's loss in every single one of them. So yeah, but they're just like very like good books that you can just get through them like very quickly. Those are YA. Most of these are YA, I just noticed. But I feel like that's because YA is so easy to get into. There's not like a lot of world building. I mean, there is if it's a fantasy, but it's not as much as like an adult book. You know what I mean? It's just so quick and easy and so much like simpler that you could just get through them quicker. And I feel like it's easier to get lost in one of those books than like in a very intricate book. Another book is book 1 in the Mirror Visitors series by Christelle Dabos. They're French books that are translated. I have book 4 right here, which I'm currently reading. And I loved that book so much. Book 1 was a 5-star for me, and these are fantasy, so it was like a lot going on in book 1. Honestly, in all these books, there's so much going on. It's like the world is ending and you have to fix it. So yeah, but like there's just something about the way that it was written, and I think the fact that when I was reading it, I was listening to just like this like one playlist on Spotify. I don't even know what it's called, but it's about dark academia, and it just fits so well with the book. I like fully annotated that book, and I was able to get lost in it. I was actually sad when I would have to leave my house to go and do something, just because I wanted to stay reading, because it just, like I said, really helped with my mental health. I don't know why I got so lost in the book, because there's a lot of world building. Like it's literally this whole other world, and there's different places in the world, obviously, like everywhere else. Yeah, and like they have powers, and like it was a lot, but like it was so good. I know I'm not explaining it that well, but I'm like, I don't remember what would be a spoiler now and what wouldn't be, because I'm on book 4. So I'm like, I don't know what to say that won't spoil the series. So yeah. And another book which I feel like everyone should read, and it bothers me that like on Goodreads people are talking poop about it, even though it has good ratings, but like there's some losers out there that are talking bad about the book. I'm sorry if you're someone that doesn't like the book, but it's Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too. And I just think that's like the sweetest book ever. I've reread it a couple of times just because I love it so much. I have it tabbed so many times because every time I just go and tab something else, like I just keep tabbing. But it's such a good and sweet book. I think it's nice to like help you like see that you're not alone in the world, and that it's okay to be different. It's okay to experience your emotions, and it's okay to like go through life, you know what I mean? Even though at some points it's hard, it will get better. So it's just like, and it's done in such a quick cute way because it's a graphic novel. So I like really recommend it. I love it. Then we have Fangs, which is another graphic novel. She is a vampire and he is a werewolf, and they're in love. Like, they end up dating and falling in love or whatever. And I think it's so cute and so sweet. I also reread that one all the time because it's just so cute. And like I said, it's a graphic novel, so it's quick and easy, but it's just very nice to see, you know, to read. And like I said, I was able to read it even though I was in a dark place, and I continued to reread it. And then I guess like the last book, it's not even like a book, it's just like a genre of writing, and that is poetry. That's something that usually I can really gravitate to when I'm going through it mentally, just because poetry is just something that you can relate to, especially if it's like, I try to read more so like poetry books that deal with like anxiety or like sadness and stuff like that when I'm going through it, rather than like relationship ones, because like, you know, like I wouldn't want to be reading a poetry book about a breakup because I'm gonna have a relationship. So like, I don't mind if it has some of that, but like, I don't want to read about that. I'd rather read about like someone going through anxiety or going through a hard time, or talking about how life is hard and all that jazz. So that's what I like. I like the poetry that's like you telling me your feelings. So I could be like, oh my god, you feel that way, so do I. And it's just relatable. I know some people don't like Rupi Kaur, like Milk and Honey and all that stuff. And I love those books because I just feel like I like poetry written like that, where it's just like, hey, this is what I went through, these are my feelings, this is what it is, you know what I mean? And I'm just putting it out there so that you don't feel alone. And I love that because I don't want to feel alone. And like, when you're dealing with your mental health, it could feel so lonely and just so isolating. That was the word I was looking for, because you're like, nobody feels this way, it's just me, what's wrong with me? I messed up, I need to get fixed, you know, I'm the problem. So that's why I love poetry. I think it's just so good. Like, it's that good. But yeah, so that's usually what I tend to read. If you guys have any recommendations, please leave them down below. Also, children's books I feel like can help you come out of like your brain and your brain slump and stuff. So I also recommend some children's books. It doesn't have to be anything crazy or like anything like super childlike, but like a good little children's book, like The Critter Club. I read the first 4 volumes and I loved it. The first 4 books, I guess, not volumes, and I loved it. Or like the Disney princess ones, and I just think it's nice and fun. Not all reading has to be like this like wow, like crazy thing. Like, yeah, I read Pride and Prejudice and I love it, and I read Bleak House, and honestly it was very bleak and it was very chunky, but I love that book. So yeah, I love like classic literature and like, oh my god, but I also love me a good children's book, just like I love me a good little romance or a good little YA or a good little thriller. But I feel like thrillers don't usually like, you know, help with anxiety. But actually, now that I think about it, yeah, because you're focused on somebody else's problems other than yourselves. And that is the reason why I love horror movies, because I'm like, if they survived and they're going through all this, I can too. You know, it's nice to see that somebody else's horrors are worse than yours when I watch horror movies. So yeah. And if you guys have any recommendations for books that you've read when you're in the trenches, please let me know down below, because I would love to read them. I hope you guys like save these recommendations if you haven't read them, just for like when you're not feeling too well up here, you could just always go to this. Maybe you're someone that can read anything even when they're going through something, you know what I mean? Lucky you. But if not, I would really try these just because they do help. So they're very quick and easy to go through and get through. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Please like, subscribe, and do all the YouTube stuff. Bye.